All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to be doing this lamp holder in this video. So we're going to start with a one by one, and then we'll talk about the geometries of this here when we look at a stud and how a stud gets placed onto this. But some of the dimensions and things are very similar to um, what we've already created with this piece right here, with this round plate. It's essentially the stud top is this right here. The hole is the same hole that we have in all of our plates with like the holes that we've done. So that's going to be the same as that. And then this dimension right there is going to be the same as the dimension underneath here, which is that 0.77 inches on that. So really we can get a lot of this information from the parts that connect to it on our piece. So if we look at our Lego model and how this is used, I don't know if I actually see where it's actually used in the model. So yeah, I don't, oh, it's right here, this lamp holder at the beginning. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see right there is the lamp holder, and there's a stud that goes on. You can see that those pieces are flush when they go on there. So that's kind of how we know what we're doing. But let's get after it. And here we go. I'm starting with the one by one plate. I'm going to do a file save as. We're actually going to make a plate starting with a 1 by 2, but I'm going to turn it into a 1 by 1 because we don't have one of those yet. And then we're going to go from there. So here we've extruded, and then here's our second sketch. Actually, let's just back up in the timeline, and we'll just kind of walk through each of the things. So this is going to be now Lego base and Lego base. And then we're going to put a sketch on top. This time we don't need two of them. So we're going to delete that one and move this one right to the middle. And then finish that sketch. And there's the nub. And then we're going to go underneath and look at what we have here. So we don't need any of this. And then we're going to do a tangent constraint from this construction line to the circle and finish that. Extrude there, and then do a face offset, and it says, hey, I don't like these chamfers, but they're okay now. We're good. I'm just going to check that face offset. That looks good. Do a quick inspection of this, not that, of this line, and that should be 0.568. So there's my 1 by 1 plate, and I'm going to save that. So this isn't in the kit, but again, it's a pretty standard part in most kits. So it's nice to have because, again, we're going to use these pieces later as we continue to make more parts and make more giant kits for fun. Now we're going to save this as the lamp holder, the official name. So we can start with this, and then we're going to just add on to it. Because really, if we look at the part, all it is, go to the parts, we just have to put a little extension and then come out to here to this center line. And now this is where, you know, looking at the part and seeing how this part interacts with other parts is important. And I've done this already and looked at it and kind of analyzed what's going on. But when we look at the part and we create a sketch on this side, I'm going to project some geometry for us, and then I'm going to create a couple of lines and some circles just so you can see what's going on. So this is the bigger circle, and then we have a stud circle that goes in there. So we're going to dimension this. This is the 0.77, and then this one is the stud diameter. And these hang below the part. So this right here, this hangs below the part. And then you might be wondering, like, how much below the part? Is this center point in line with this horizontally? And if it were, it doesn't hang that far below the part. It actually hangs lower in the part. And then you're like, well, how far from this, how long is this away from there? And Lego does things intentionally. So if you think that there's not a reason for it, well, there is. We also have a circle on the inside of this that is the small shaft plus kerf, because we got to fit something through that opening. So the small shaft is there. I'm going to put a point on the midpoint of this line. And Lego has decided that there is going to be a line, a construction line, that we're going to put that dimensionally from here to here is Lego base. And this point falls on that line. So now we know that this is somewhere along here. So I'm going to coincident constrain that to here. So that's how we know how far away it is from this piece. The next thing we need to do is figure out, okay, how far away is it from, like how far down does it go? And this is where understanding Lego being intentional is important. So I'm going to actually bring this down to this point here. And then there is actually, this is going to be Lego base. And then there's going to be another one of these identical to it, just a mirror image. So if I put a line, or I'll just do a rectangle so you can see the whole thing. So there's a rectangle that's going to line up with this. So I'm going to use the collinear constraint. And then I'm going to use the equals constraint to say that this is equal to this, and this is equal to this. And they can put one item between them. And now, if you were to put a line, these are symmetrical about a line that goes right through the midline of these. So I'm going to put a line through the midline. I'm going to make these two things symmetrical about this, so it moved this into position. And then these two are also symmetrical about this. And then look what it did. It put these in line with each other. And now this is the correct geometry for this piece right there. Pretty amazing how they come about it. And then again, if you want them to be all black lines, we just make that the same dimension as this. But it makes no difference because the center point didn't change. And then all we're going to do is we're going to add a line from here to here and a line from to here. I'm going to make this one a non-construction line. So it's an object line. And now we're ready to go. Now, I was kind of dumb. I should have made this sketch on the midpoint or the mid-axis of this and then extrude it outward. So I'm going to finish the sketch. I'm going to go back in time. Let's see if we can do this on this one. We're going to construct a mid-plane line between here and here. And then I'm going to see this sketch, but I'm going to say redefine the sketch plane to this and say OK. And now you can see that it's on the midline, which makes it much easier because now when I do my extrusion of these parts, pull outward, I'm going to pull both sides symmetrically. The whole width of this, if I were to measure on the part, I think it's 0.125. Yeah. Yeah, 0.125. Well, it's a little thinner than 0.125 in that section. So it kind of necks down a little bit and then expands out on the circle, but I'm just going to leave it for the circle. So I'm just going to make that 0.125 for the thickness of the circle. So it's going to be 0.125 times scale. And then I need to then extrude out just the midpoint So what I mean by that is I need to extrude the stud piece here. I'm going to go 2 sides symmetrical. I'm going to go just one distance, but I'm going to go, I'm going to go the whole way. So this is going to be, when this goes out, we're going to join. It's going to be 0.125 times scale. That's what we just did, plus stud height times 2, because we have 1 on each side. So see that? We need to get stud height times 2 or else it's not the full distance. And there we go. I'm going to turn off the sketch so you can see it. There's my lamp. When I look at it from this side, these pieces don't extend all the way out to there. I'm going to get a measurement just so we can see how close we got. This is 0.266. So if we scale that, if we take 0.266 times 3, you get 0.798. And if we were to inspect this, gives us our diameter. Let's give us the length. Gives us a loop length. I wonder if we can. Let's do this. Let's do an inspection from just this side here to this side here. And it's 0.795. So we got in our calculator 0.798, and this is 0.795. I'm going to say that that's pretty darn close. We're within 0.003 of where we should be on that part. I am thrilled with the way that this came out. This is exactly how I wanted it to look. It looks great. We're now going to chamfer this side here and this side, not that one, this side here. And we're going to do a curve times 2. And we'll get those 2 ends chamfered. And there is our lamp holder. Looks great. Again, thanks for joining us. But as always, stop watching, start making. Build something great today. We'll see you next time.